Sotah Daf Yud Ches contains two primary sugyas. The first half of the daf is discussing a number of questions about the writing of the Megillah and the erasing of the Megillah to create the Sotah water, covering what type of material can be used, what type of ink can be used, and how it can be written. Then we'll go through a number of halachas and a number of shilas. We're in the middle of this list. Then we get to the next mission, which will talk about the shavua, that which the woman has to swear. The two things she has to swear, what they're referring to, and the Gemara will go through what can you make her swear to. Once she's swearing as a sotah, what else can you add into that shvuah? So let's begin. The Gemara is in the middle of a list of halachos we're stating about writing the Megillah. Somewhere says that if it's written in two columns, it's possible it has to be written as one, because the Torah calls it sefer, meaning one a sefer echad, not two or three. If he writes one letter and erases it, then another letter and erases it, and he ends up writing the entire Megillah, but it wasn't all written in once, it was erased letter by letter or part by part, that's possible because it's siva asala kainas kol hatarazos, has to all be together before it can be erased. Now there are some questions. Rava asks, if he writes two different Megillahs for two different saitas, and he erases them into 1 cup of water, and then they each share drinking it. So what's the halacha there? If the main point of writing the Megillah for this sotah is that it has to be lishma, for her name, so it was written for the name of each one. But maybe it has to be erased specific for this one, and here it wasn't, because the eraser was done by two different women together in the same cup. So it wasn't individualized. Now, if you want to say that it has to be individualized in the erasing, so this case is no good, what if it was erased into two different cups, but then they were mixed? So now you have the writing was specific to the woman, the erasing was specific to the woman, but the drinking is not going to be specific to the woman, because now the cups are mixed together. And each one is not drinking her own, she's drinking the other ones. Now, if you want to say that it's no good because they're not drinking their own, what if you then split it in half? Can you now, and you had never originally set aside which specific one was going to be for which one. Can you now say yesh breira? Can you now say the fact that when it was split and each one ended up being drunk, the one that they were given, can you say that reveals retroactively that this was the cup that was originally destined to be for them all along, or can you not say that? So the Gemara leaves it all as a teiku. All those questions remain unresolved. Now Rava asks, can you drink it through a straw or through a tube? Does that count as the derech shesiyah? Does that count as drinking? Or is that not a normal type of drinking? The Gemara leaves that unanswered. Rav Ashi asks, if part of it spills and there's a little bit left, also teiku. So Rav Zer says the name of Rav. The two shvuas, it says twice that we make them swear, we make her swear. What are they for? So he says one is before the erasure of the Megillah and one is after the erasure of the Megillah. Rava says both of them are before the erasure of the Megillah. If you look in the way the psukim are written, it says v'shbiah twice before the erasure. So Rava therefore says one is a shvuah that contains a curse and one is a shvuah that does not contain a curse. So Gemara says, what do you mean? What is a shvuah that contains a curse? So the Gemara is going to try three versions of this. Rav Amram name of Rav says, and the Kohen says to her, I make you swear that you were not tameh. Swear that it did not happen that you were metame, because if you were tameh, then the following curse will happen. So Rava doesn't like that, because the swearing and the curse are one after the other. There's no curse in the actual swearing. So therefore, Rava wants to say, I make you swear that if you did become tameh, this water will go into you and cause this negative effect. So Rav Ashi says that's not swearing. There's the curse, but what is she swearing to? She's swearing that it's going to work. Says Rav Ashi, therefore what it is as follows. I make you swear that you did not become tameh, and that if you became tameh, then this water is going to be a problem. So that's all one shvuah, and it contains the shvuah that she didn't become tameh, and that the curse is going to happen. Now we get to the next Mishnah, and the Mishnah discusses when the pasuk says, "V'amra ha'isha amen amen," she'll say amen twice. What are the two amens for? What are the two things that she's swearing to? So the Gemara brings the Mishnah brings a list of things. It's important to introduce the concept of Gilgul Shua, which is once you're swearing to one thing, there's a halachic status that you can also add additional shuas. Even if someone, you could not make them swear just based on what the information you have. If you can make him swear to something else, you can add on something else you wanted him to swear to that on its own you would not have been able to. So, what is this shvua for? What are the two shvuas, the amen, amen? So, the Mishnah first says it's amen on the curse and amen on the shvua. Then it's amen me'izeh, she was not tummy from this man, and she's also, you can make her swear that she wasn't tummy from anyone else. You can also say that it was amen that she did not become tummy while she was in a rusa, and amen that she did not become tummy while she was in a siwa, that is after chuppah, and amen that she did not become tummy as a shemeres yavam and as a kenusa. That is, if she became married to this man through yibum, so when she falls to yibum, when her husband dies and she falls to yibum, then she's a shemeres yavam. When the yavam goes ahead and he performs yibum, then she becomes a kenusa. So in those two situations, she's saying that she did not become tummy either way. Then next one is amen that I did not become tummy, and amen that if I did, then this will happen to me. Rabbi Meir says, amen that I did not become tamei, and amen that I'm not going to become tamei in the future, because he says that if she does mizana afterwards, after she drinks the sotah water, it'll still have a potent effect on her, and the same curse will happen. Now, says the Mishnah, everyone agrees that you cannot make her swear from before she was married, before she was engaged, before she was nisaris. So if there's a previous marriage, you can't swear to that. You also can make her swear after she gets divorced. Tomorrow we'll discuss that, if that means after she gets divorced and she's remarried. Now, the Mishnah gives a case here. If she was nistera for one person, she was warned not to be with one person, not to be secluded with one, and she became tummy. And then the husband remarried her. That means to say as follows. Her husband, while she was married, warned her. He did a kinoi. Then they got divorced. Then she became tummy, and then he remarried her. So during the time that she became nitmei, she was not married. So there, he can't make her swear to that part. Says the Mishnah is a general rule. The rule is you can only include any type of bia that would have made her usher to him. Like a bia while she's married. Since also the baal, for example, is a bia that would have made her usher to him. On that you can make her swear and not otherwise. So the Gemara now begins. The Gemara first discusses a shomeres yavam. Is here, if she's mizana as a shomeres yavam, does that make her usher to her yavam? So Rav Nuna says the shomeres yavam who's mizana is usher to her yavam. How do you know that? Because in our Mishnah it lists a shomeres yavam and a kenusa. That means that a shomeres yavam, she's swearing that she was not mizana as a shomeres yavam. Obviously, then, that makes her usher to him, because the Mishnah set a rule that the only thing you can make her swear to is things which will make her usher to her husband. Obviously, then, as shomeres yavam that's mizana becomes usher to her husband. So where it says no, not necessarily. In Marava they said the halacha is not like Rav Nuna. What do you mean? It says here clearly that she has to swear that she's not mizana as a shomeres yavam. So where it says this Mishnah is Rabbi Akiva's opinion, who holds any chayve lav, any marriage which is prohibited by a lav, any bia which happens in a relationship which is prohibited by a lav, makes a chiyuv kares, and there's no tfisas kedushin, any such marriage has no tfisas kedushin, cancels one of the arayos, and therefore would also make the woman and the man usher to each other. Therefore, Rabbi Akiva would most definitely hold that shomeres yavam, that it's mizana as usher to her husband because it's a lav. However, the rest of the chachamim who hold that that's not true by a standard chayve lav, there's no proof here that they would say that it is true by a yivama l'shuk. Now, the Gemara now has a question that Rabbi Yirmiyah asks. Can a person make a tanaya on his previous marriage and on his brother's marriage? That is, can he make her swear that she was not mizana in her previous marriage, or that can the yavam make her swear that she was not mizana while she was married to the original brother? So the Gemara says, it's clear from the Mishnah itself. It says this is the rule. Anything which, if there was a bia, makes iser, then you can include that in the shul.